If I could roll with my eyes, I would roll for a long time. This is more than muscle. Today, we're going to break down nutrition. We're going to break down specifics around macros, micros, and we're going to dive heavily into how to honestly get your nutrition on track, not just like from a mindset perspective, but also just from specifics around actual nutrition, what to eat, when to eat, things like that. So I've been doing nutrition now for 20 years, and what I found in the last 20 years is that it's always different amongst all people, and it really does depend on what you are trying to achieve. So the first thing is understand your goal. Now, if your goal is to drop body fat and to build muscle at the same time, you have to be more specific. Calories only will not be enough. In other words, many people will tell you that calories in versus calories out, that's the ultimate goal. That works if you are probably just starting out. And it's always a good place to start. I will say that it's a good place to start, but you will very quickly outgrow that, because at the same time, like, yes, you could just eat a bunch of calories that are only from fat or only from protein or only from carbs, which very rarely that's the case. And I will tell you now that if you do go down that route, your body will not respond in the best manner. It will respond, but it probably won't be as effective as if you were to fully focus on macros. So the reason why I wanted to do this is I really want to help you understand the value of doing nutrition in a way that makes more sense for you. And so let's go down the route of macros. And the most important thing is to not just focus on the scale. The scale will tell you a number, and I'm not going to say it's not important, because it is important, because if your number is really high, you should probably address that, right? We've got to focus on getting that number down. Because at the end of the day, if you want to be able to move better and you want to be able to do body weight movement easier, then you can't be carrying excess body fat, and in the weight that you have, that's probably going to still be too high. So I say that because sometimes if you are someone that really like enjoys something like gymnastics, and when I mean gymnastics, I mean like pull-ups, push-ups, burpees, things like that. If you're too heavy, that's going to be hard for you. Regardless of what you think or don't think about that, if you're too heavy, you're going to be slow, okay? Now, if you want to look at that, you're going to go, okay, there's the scale, the number on the scale. That number is making up a certain thing. And what it's making up is your body fat percentage or your body fat mass. Then it's making up your muscle mass, and then it's making up water. So when you look at what the weight of you is, then you're looking at, well, what are the main factors that are making up this weight? So you've got your water, and then you've got your body fat, and then you've got your muscle mass. So that's why body scans are so effective. I always get anyone that I work with to have a body scan, because it just helps so much. You can do an in-body scan. You can do a DEXA scan. I don't love some of the other options that are out there, just because I feel like they're not as accurate. But all that to say is that, at the end of the day, getting something is better than not having anything. The home scales rarely are accurate, so I wouldn't kind of trust them, to be honest. So you get a body scan. The body scan might say that you're at 25, 30, 35%, whatever the percentage is of body fat. The body scan will also tell you what your basal metabolic rate is. So in other words, that might tell you that just for you to function, you need to have 1,400 calories, 1,500 calories, 1,700 calories, whatever that number is. But that's for you to just function, for you to be where you're at and stay and maintain. Now, if you want to drop body fat, then you're going to have to still hit that number. So this is why low calories don't work, because at the end of the day, you don't want to put yourself into starvation, because starvation actually makes you hold on to more rather than lose. And I know that kind of like in your mind probably doesn't make sense, but if you undereat, that's just as bad as overeating. So undereating causes you to maintain and keep the weight on. Overeating causes you to continue to add more weight, probably even keep it on. If you hit the right amount, you're going to be solid. So once you know your basal metabolic rate, then what you're going to do is you're going to add to that. So it might be an extra 200 calories, 300 calories. It really then just depends on your lifestyle. If you're someone that sits down all day and you work out for 1 hour and that's it, you probably don't need to eat that much. If you're someone that sits down all day, but you work out and you get up and walk around a lot, you may need to eat a bit more. If you're someone that has an active job and you work out, you definitely need to be eating more. So it's very much coming down to what exactly do you need to eat to accommodate your body and your lifestyle and ultimately your goals. So a lot of the time, the average person that typically I work with, they come to me and they're usually somewhere between 25 and 35% body fat. That's not a bad percentage, but if they want to look better, then it isn't going to be enough. You've got to get under 20%. Now, what that looks like at that point is they're going to essentially drop down under 20% through adequate carbs, fats, and proteins that accommodate where they're at. Let's say that someone is 150 pounds, 35% body fat. Then essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at what does their day-to-day look like. And that might be in the form of, they sit for most of the day. However, they go to and do an hour of strength training and they do at least 12,000 steps a day because they add a walk or a run in. Okay, then we might need to modify those numbers. So just by that alone, I'm going to look at the weight of them, the height, the age. Have they been through menopause? Are they going through menopause? Are they pre-menopause? Where are they at in terms of their hormonal concept? And obviously then we're looking at what does their day-to-day look like in terms of stress? How much sleep are they getting? Once I have those numbers and I have that data, then I'm going to go, okay, carbohydrates first. Now, the reason why carbohydrates is always so important is because we want to make sure that, you're getting the energy, because energy is huge. You don't want to be dragging your butt through the day because you're just not eating enough carbs. It's like one of the worst feelings. A lot of the time you're like, oh, I'm just so stressed out. I'm so busy. I'm so this, I'm so that. I'm just so tired. Yet you could have combated that just by having a little bit more carbohydrates. Then the next thing is, okay, if you have, a good amount of body mass on you that is muscle, we have to feed that with protein. So you're going to get the protein intake. Now, if someone is 150 pounds and they maybe have, 110 pounds of them is muscle, they got to have at least 110 grams of protein. That's 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. Now, then you want to have a little bit more because you're lifting, you're moving, you're trying to gain some more muscle, you're trying to build more muscle. And just remember, sometimes building more muscle is in the actual muscle. So in other words, your number of muscle mass doesn't go up, but the fibers get stronger. So then that's slightly different because I don't actually gain more muscle, but my fibers get stronger. So I actually stay very much the same. I don't really change. My body doesn't get bigger. I stay very much the same weight. I stay the same size, but I get stronger. Now, sometimes that's hard for people to understand, but the reason why that is possible is because muscle fibers get stronger and stronger as you break them down, rebuild them. They don't always have to get bigger. So sometimes it's good to get stronger, but maintain size. Now, I always tackle fat last because it's honestly the one that we don't need the most. So tackling fat is easy as well because it just bumps up your calories really quickly and you don't need that much of it. I'm not a big fan of keto, carnivore, fasting. I'm not a big fan of all those things because yes, they are all diets. And at the end of the day, any diet is just trying to restrict you. That's the whole point of them. This is why they're not sustainable, but this is also why they can be beneficial because ultimately any diet out there is just trying to restrict your intake. They're all the same. If you just restrict your intake through better mentality, through discipline, through consistency, and just by not overeating, you will get results. So once you have your carbs, your fats, and your proteins laid out, then you follow a plan. Now, when you create a plan, the most important thing is to look at accuracy. In other words, weigh and measure and track your stuff. If you think that's obsessive, please stop listening to this because you're on the wrong path. Go and eat whatever you want, add your variety, and just continue staying the same. If you want results, you're going to have to be a little bit more switched on. You're going to have to actually try a little harder. So it's so important, and I will say this, and I will stress this, that weighing and measuring is absolutely critical. Because how do you know that you're eating the right amount if you're guessing the amount? It's not going to work. So I always encourage everyone, weigh and measure and track. Now, if you're someone that wants to kind of like make your food so varied and you want to make sure it tastes good, then it's going to be harder for you. Don't make it harder for yourself. Make it so damn simple. Single ingredient foods to meet the macros that you want and the macros that you need, and add micronutrients in the form of fruits and vegetables, and you will get results. It's very simple. You're just complicating it because you want to have variety. That's what you say. So you don't need to make it down. You don't need to go down that route with that. The next step that you want to do is when you're doing your nutrition, You want to make changes. In other words, your macros should change about every 4 weeks. The reason why this is so important is because when you change it, you're actually adapting your body to what you're doing, how you're feeling, where you're going, all these things. And that's honestly so important. So that's why I encourage you to make changes to your macros at least every 4 weeks. And that's also a good time for you to get another body scan. You can lengthen your body scans every 2 months or maybe every 3 months. I personally like to do it every month to make sure that I'm eating the right way to accommodate my goals, accommodate my training, and my energy levels. That is going to help you get to where you want to go. Now, if you're somebody that struggles with consistency in regards to your nutrition, then I hate to break it to you, but you need accountability because you ain't holding yourself accountable. You need some help. Now, don't be that person that just sits in your ego and pride and says, I can do it myself. If you could do it yourself, don't you think you would have the results by now? You can't do it yourself. You're just filled with ego and you're filled with pride, and you need to drop that shit and you need to get some help. Now, regardless of where you get that from, get some damn help. I have coaches, I have mentors, and you've seen the way I look, right? I clearly have a pretty decent idea about nutrition, but I still want people to look in and make sure that I'm not missing things, because that's what they do. Good coaches will take a bird's eye view of what you're doing and then pinpoint where some of the flaws are and then fix them for you. That is honestly critical. But people out there think that they can do it themselves. They have this really how do I say it? Flawed idea of what better nutrition is. Because all they say is I just try to hit my protein target for the day. Yeah, cool. You still look the same as last year, just so you know. Or you get the person that's I'm counting my calories, but you still look the same as last year. I hate to break it to some of you, but you seriously look the same. You haven't changed. So that is implying that the way you're doing things is not working. That's what it's implying. And your results reveal your effort. And if your effort is not there, you will not have the results. So you got to make some changes. And nutrition is so critical. And I just want you to know, nutrition is all science. That's all it is. And it's energy. And so if you go out there and you try and listen to some dumbass that's trying to tell you that the lemon diet is going to work or the pink salt diet is going to work or some bullshit that's out there, then oh my gosh, please stop listening. Think for yourself a little bit, and also think a little bit more logically. Just for a second, because you'll probably notice that you are better off just doing things in a manner that make more sense for you. Nutrition is a very, very critical component to getting the best results for your body. And I don't just mean to look good. I mean to feel good. I mean to also operate better, because performance comes from how you feed yourself and how you recover. So if you're not sleeping and you're eating poorly, but yet you think you can go into the gym and crush it, you're wrong. That's just it. You're wrong. And you have to make the changes. You've got to make the right changes that are going to get you to where you want to be. So I've just told you, go and get a body scan, get your macros in check, weigh and measure your food, track it, and then do this for a good amount of time. Give yourself at least 3 months to do this, to start to see the results. And if you suck, then guess what? Go get some help. It's not that hard, right? If you really, really want this, then you will do whatever it takes. If you don't, you'll justify you doing it on your own and you sucking all the way through, and then you'll feel frustrated as to why you don't have results, but then you'll go and justify your stupid reason as to not getting help by, oh no, I know what to do, I just won't do it. I know what I need to do, I'm just having a hard time with consistency. I'm telling you right now, these excuses that people are putting up are the biggest fucking load of shit. I cannot even fathom it. If I could roll with my eyes, I would roll for a long time. And that's just it. And I can't even tell you how many times I listen and I hear and I see people and I just shake my head, because ignorance is ignoring information. And if you are ignorant, then you are choosing that. And if you're choosing that, then guess what? Your outcome is matching your choices. So if you want to change what you're doing. So just remember, guys, everything you want is on the other side of fear. Make a move, take action, because you're one decision away from a completely different life.